Hello and welcome to the chapter on tuples. This is the part 1 of this particular chapter, and in this part we are going to discuss the basics of tuples, that is the introduction to tuples. So let us see the syllabus. As per the syllabus, these are the topics of this chapter, and in this part we are going to discuss the highlighted topics. So let's begin with the introduction to tuples. So what is a tuple? A tuple may be defined as an immutable collection of elements of any data type separated by comma and enclosed within the first bracket. So what do we mean by immutable? Immutable means if after assigning the elements of a tuple, if we want to change the elements, we cannot change it. That's the meaning of immutable. On the other hand, in case of data types like lists or dictionaries, after assigning the values also, if we want to change the values, we can do so. But tuples fall within which category? It falls in the immutable category. So let us see how to create a tuple. We can create a tuple in this manner. Let's say x equals to 2, 44, 33 and 11. This is a tuple. How can we identify that this is a tuple? Because it is enclosed within the first bracket and the elements are, as you can see here, they are separated by comma. Now this is another example of tuple. A tuple can have elements of mixed data type. For example, in the tuple x, the elements were of integer data type, but in the tuple y, as we can see, the elements are of mixed data type. The data type of 12 is integer, of Raj it's string, and 43.2 is floating point number. Now if I want to create an empty tuple, that can also be done. An empty tuple is created using the first bracket. So if I use the first bracket, I can use it for creating an empty tuple. For example, z equals to this empty bracket. That means I am creating what type of tuple? I am creating an empty tuple. Now as I have already said, tuples are immutable in nature. Immutable means the elements of a tuple cannot be changed in place after tuple creation. I'll show it to you with an example also, but for now you have to remember that once we create a tuple, we cannot change its elements if we decide. So let me show you by creating a tuple. For example, let's take t, let's say t equals to 11, 65.2, sorry, it's a floating point number, let's say 65.2 comma, let's say Alia. So this is a tuple. Okay, how can we check whether it is a tuple or not? By using the type function. Remember, as I have already discussed in my earlier videos, the type function is used to check the data type of a variable. So if I type in type t, it will return class tuple. That means t belongs to the data type tuple. Now let us discuss about single element tuple. It is a tuple that contains only one element. If a tuple contains only a single element or one element, then it is referred to as a single element tuple. Now there is a syntax for creating a single element tuple. The syntax is tuple name, we can give it as any name, equals to, within the first bracket we have to place the element and we have to give a comma here. Just giving the element within first bracket will not be considered as a tuple. So this is the syntax for creating a single element tuple. For example, x equals to 11 comma, and then I have closed the parenthesis. That means it is an example of a single element tuple. So if I type x, then it will show that it belongs to the class tuple. That means x is a tuple. On the other hand, if I try to create a single element tuple in a conventional way, that means if I think that just putting any element within the first bracket will make it a tuple, then that's not the case. As we can see here, y equals to 11. Now if I use the type function to check the data type of y, so if I type in type of y, then it will show that it is of the class integer. It's not a tuple. This type of tricky questions are often asked in the multiple choice questions. So if I write z equals to hello, then also if I want to check the data type of z, I can use the type function. Type of z will give me a string. Okay, let me show it to you quickly. If I write, let's say x equals to 11 comma, if I want to check the data type of x, yes, it's showing that it's a tuple. On the other hand, if I just write, let's say y equals to 11, so if I check the data type of y, yes, can you see it here? Yes, it's showing that the data type is what? Is of the class int. That means this is not a tuple. So remember, this is the syntax for creating a single element tuple. Let's move ahead. So these are not the ways in which tuples can be created. This is the correct way for creating a single element tuple. Let's move ahead with the indexing. So what do we mean by indexing? If you have studied the chapter on list, then you already know that each element has a number associated with it. That number is known as index. So similarly, in case of tuple also, each item of a tuple consists of a number known as index. Alright, so let's say x is a tuple, as you can see in front of the screen. Here, what is the length of this tuple? Length, how can we find out the length? By counting the number of elements. Length means nothing but just the count of the number of elements. How many elements do we have here? 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. So length is how much? Length is 5 here. So if the indexing of a tuple ranges from 0 to length minus 1 from the left, it is called forward indexing. So this is left, this is right. So if the indexing starts from 0 and it goes to length minus 1, yes, it is going to length minus 1 because length is 5, length minus 1 is 4. So if it is going from 0 to 4, that means it falls under forward indexing. Similarly, if the indexing of a tuple begins from minus 1 to minus length from the right, it is called backward indexing. So if the indexing begins from the right, from which number? From the number minus 1, and it goes up to minus length. What is length? Length is 5. So if it goes till minus length, it is known as backward indexing. So this is how indexing is done in tuple. You need not do it manually. As you create a tuple, the indexes will automatically be assigned. This is how they are assigned. Now, if I want to access the individual elements of a tuple, let us see how can we do that. So the next topic is accessing individual elements of a tuple. So the individual elements of a tuple can be accessed using its index. So we can use the indexes for accessing the individual elements of a tuple. What is the syntax? The syntax is, I just have to give the tuple name and then within the third bracket I need to place the index. For example, let's say x equals to 11, 22, 33 and Bob. Now if I want, so this is the this is how the forward indexing is done. It will automatically be done. Now if I want to see what is located at the index 1, I can do it like this, x1. So it will return me the value of 22. So this is how individual elements can be accessed. Now can you say how can I access Bob? Just you have to look the index at which Bob is located. So Bob is located at the index 3. So if I type in x3, it will give me the value as Bob. Let me quickly show it to you. So we have this tuple t. So if I give, let's say t2, it's showing me as Alia. So if I give t, let's say 0, it will give me 11. Now if I want to access Alia through the backward indexing, I can even do that as follows. So what is the backward indexing of Alia? It is -1. So t minus 1 will fetch me Alia. Now if you want to give such an index, or by mistake if you give such an index which does not exist, for example let's say t5, does the index 5 exist? No, 0, 1, 2, it exists only till 2. So if I type in t5, it will give me an error. Just read the error. It says tuple index out of range. That means what is the range of the index? If I talk about the forward indexing, it is from 0 to 2. So it is 0, 1 and 2. Alright, but I have given the index as 5. Therefore, it is showing that tuple index is out of range. Alright, so let's move ahead. Let's test the immutable property of tuples. So in the first slide on itself, I have said that tuples are immutable. What is the meaning of that? The meaning is that once a tuple is created, we cannot change the individual values of the tuples. That's known as immutability. So tuples are immutable in nature. For example, let's say x equals to 11, 22, 33 and Bob. Now if I decide to change this value 22 into something else, let's say 99, then I have to do it like this. X, what is the index of 22? It is 1 equals to 99. The meaning of this statement is that in place of 22, I am planning to put 99. But as I press the enter key, I'll get an error here. Read the error. Tuple object does not support item assignment. Why it is showing? Why it is not allowing the process? It is not allowing because tuples are immutable in nature. If you do the same thing with list, then it will not show any kind of error because lists are mutable. So finally, you need to remember that tuples are immutable in nature. So I'll just show it to you. So this is the tuple. Let's say I want to change this Alia to Elise. So what is the index of Alia? Let's say 2. So T2 equals to, if I give it as here as Elise, you can see that it is showing me an error like tuple object does not support item assignment because tuples are immutable in nature. So let's talk about the another type of tuple, that is the nested tuple. So in computer science, whenever you hear the word nested, it means within something we have another thing. And so nested tuple means what? Within one tuple, if we have another tuple or more than one tuples within a single tuple, then it is known as a nested tuple. So a tuple that contains one or more tuples as its elements are called nested tuples. Generally, the elements of a tuples are what? It may be integer, float, strings. But if the elements of a tuple are tuple itself, then they are known as nested tuples. So let's say this is a tuple x, and within this tuple x, we are having another tuples. Okay, so this is known as nested tuples. So this is another example of nested tuples. Now let's see how to index in nested tuples. So each, what do we mean by index? Each element of a tuple has a number associated with it. That number is known as what? That number is known as index. So let's say this is a nested tuple as we have already seen in the previous slide. So now how do I index it? The indexing will be as follows. The element 11 will have the index 0. The element 22 will have the index 1. Elise, Bob and 98 is an element itself, but the element is a tuple. So the entire tuple will have only a single index, that is 2. And the next item is also a tuple itself. So both these items 77 and 66, they will not have two indexes. They will have a single index, that is 3. Now it can further be subdivided as follows. Now if someone wants to access only Elise, then what will be the index? The index will be, at first you have to access the main index, that's 2. Then you have to access the sub index, that is 0. So if I type in x20, that means what? That means I am referring to what? I am referring to Elise in this case. Alright, so let's see. If I type in x1, I'll get 22. If I type in x2, I'll get Elise, Bob and 98.5. Now if I want to access Elise, what will be the index? If I trace it manually, it would be 20. So if I type in x20, then I will be getting Elise. You should all practice it as a hands-on session. Like while you are watching this video, you should also do these things and verify for yourself. So x21 will mean what? X21 is referring to Bob. So as you will see here as you press the enter key. Similarly, if I type in x31, x3 means what? 77 and 66. So 31 will be referring to the element or item 66 from the index 3. So I am getting here 66. let's see how do I accept a tuple from the user. So there are two ways of using tuples in a program. One is you can assign it at the beginning of the program or anywhere in the program, and the more efficient method would be to accept a tuple from the user. Now how do I accept a tuple from the user at runtime? So in order to accept a tuple from the user at runtime, you need to use a function which is the eval input function. So what does this function do? The eval input function is used in order to accept a tuple as an input from the user. So if you want to use a tuple as an input, then this function, that is eval input function, will be used here. So what is the syntax of that? The syntax is this: variable to hold tuple, whatever tuple will be receiving from the user, we need to store it somewhere. So which is variable to hold tuple equals to eval input, and within quotes I have to give whatever message is to be displayed. Don't worry, I'll be showing it with an example. So if I want to accept a tuple, let's consider any variable, let's say b equals to eval input, enter a tuple. Okay, I need one more bracket. So it is giving me the time to enter a tuple. So let me enter a tuple, let's say 99, 88 and 77. So the tuple is accepted. If I want to verify it, I'll just type in b and I'm getting that tuple. If you want to check the data type, whether it is really a tuple or not, you need to give it like this, type b. So it is showing that it is of the class tuple. So remember, eval input function will be used for accepting a tuple from the user. So here also, if I press the enter key, it will give me the chance to enter a tuple. As I enter a tuple, it can be entered in two ways. Either you place it within the tuple bracket or you place it normally. You just separate the items by comma. Both ways are acceptable. This is how we accept a tuple from the user. Let's go to the next topic, that is traversing a tuple. Now what do we mean by traversing? Traversing means accessing each and every element of a tuple. So traversing refers to accessing each element of a tuple one item at a time. So if I want to access each element of a tuple one by one or one item at a time, then that is known as traversing. So let's say I have a tuple x as follows: 11, 22, 33 and Bob. Now, so traversing would mean what? At first I will have to visit the index 0, that is 11, followed by the index 1, that's 22, followed by the index 2, 33, and finally the index 3, that is Bob. So if I access each and every element of the tuple which is necessary for various processing, that is known as traversing. So now we'll see how do we do traversing. For doing traversing, see, accessing each and every item of a tuple is a kind of repetitive jobs, and for repetitive job we require iterative statements, that is loop. So traversing is done using loop. Now we are going to practically see a program to traverse a tuple. Alright, so let's do it. For that, since whenever the word program is there, that means I need to open the script mode. Just press Ctrl and you will get the script mode. So this is what? This is a program to accept a tuple from the user and traverse it. Okay, so we'll be accepting a tuple from the user and we have to traverse it. So let's take a tuple in a variable t. So we can simply give it as eval input, enter a tuple to traverse. Okay, so at first I'll be accepting a tuple. After that I can just display some message like here, something like tuple after traversing, and then let's say for I in, where is the tuple located? The tuple is located in the variable t. So what I will do, I will access each item of the tuple t one by one. and then print I. So let's put it in some, let's give any random name here and run it. It is asking me to enter a tuple to traverse. Let's say I'll put it as 99, 88 and 77. So what it is showing, tuple after traversing 99, 88, 77. See, it is displaying each item one after another without skipping. That means the process of traversing is being done here. Now let me explain this program to you. So the first line says that eval input enter a tuple to traverse. Alright, okay, let me change the color of the pen. It's okay, it's fine now. Okay, so the first line says, okay, just a moment, yeah, okay. So the first line says to enter a tuple to traverse. So first we need to enter a tuple. So let's assume this to be the output screen. So what would come in the output screen? Enter a tuple to traverse. So whatever I'll be entering, it will be stored in which variable? It will be stored in the variable t. So let's say I have entered 99, 88 and 77. So what is the value of t here? The value of t will be 99, 88 and 77. Next line says just a print statement, tuple after traversal. So what will come in the output screen? Tuple after traversal. All right, then let's look at the next line, which is for I in t. For I in t, what is the value of t? The value of t is 99, 88 and 77. Then what we have here as print I. Now what will be the first value of I? The first value of I would be 99. So it will take 99 and it will come inside the loop. Print I. What is the current value of I? It is 99. So in the output screen 99 would be shown. Then since it is a loop, after printing it, again it will go to the for loop. This time the value of I will be the next element of the tuple, that is 88. So it will take 88 and it will come inside the loop. What is there inside the loop? Print I. What is the current value of I? It is 88. So 88 will be displayed in the output screen. Then again it will go to the loop. This time the value of I would be 77, and then after taking 77 it will again come inside the loop. What is there? Print I. What is the current value of I? It is 77. So 77 would be written in the output screen. Therefore, after running the program, we are getting the output as follows. Alright. So with the help of for loop, what we can do? We can achieve the process of traversal. So this is the program for traversing a tuple. Now finally in this part, let us see the difference between a tuple and a list. We have already covered list and now we have come to cover tuples. So let's see what's the difference. The first difference is, of course, lists are mutable and tuples are immutable. Mutable means the elements of a list can be changed after list creation. Let's say this is a list is enclosed within this third bracket. So if I want to change this 22 to something like 99, it can be done. So if I write x1 equals to 99, the code will be processed successfully. But so x, if I give, it will show 11, 99 and 33. On the other hand, if I try to do the same thing to a tuple, if I want to change this 22 to 99, then it will give me an error which says tuple object does not support item assignment. As we have already seen from the above example, list is denoted by this bracket. That's the third bracket. On the other hand, tuple is denoted by this first bracket. So that's all with part 1. I'll see you again in the next part. Thank you very much.